Hello everyone. So today we will start by going back to the scene where we have the tutorial blocks. And the first thing I want to do is add a component called rotate around camera. This is found in the examples package. You can see it here. So once this is added to the camera, I will need to pass in a reference to the target of the camera. In this case, I want it to be the cube. And now if I test it, it should be working right out of the box. There you go. So now we can see the cube in a more intuitive way from many different angles. And if I click it and click it again, I will see the scaling happening on just the y-axis and the z-axis. Now what I want to do is I want to make this cube a prefab because I'm going to make 7 instances of it. So I want it to be maintained. If I do changes to the prefab, I want them all to be updated. So I will search for the proper folder, in this case within MotionKit samples 1.06, etc. on their the prefabs folder. I will put it there and I will name it cube blocks T to differentiate it from the original one, which was created for the demo. Now that I made the cube a prefab, I will create an empty game object. I will name it cubes and I will reset its transform for it to be in the center of the universe. I will drag this cube under this cube container and I will duplicate this until I have 7 instances. So I will take the one in the middle. I will leave it in a, well, I'm actually going to reset the rotation for all this should be 90 degrees, minus 90 degrees on the x-axis. Now this one is going to be in the center and I will move the others to the left and these ones to the right. So I will move this one by minus 2.5. This one I will move it by minus 5. On the first one I will move it to minus 7.5. Likewise, I'm going to take this one and I'm going to move it to the right 2.5 units. This one I will move it 5 units. And this one I will move it 7.5 units. So there you go. We have this cube in the center and all the others are just spread across the x-axis. Now I will make some final touches. I don't like this naming, default naming from Unity, so I'm just gonna select all the cubes, type in cube, and this should be ready now. And I will test it. I will see how it is looking so far. Well, we have problems because the camera is pointing towards the first cube probably. So I will need to target to another object. I will pick the camera and I will change the target to cubes so that it points to the center. And this should be ready now. Yeah, this is what I wanted. So now we can click them all and they should be working as expected. I will do one minor adjustment so that the camera fits better what we are trying to see from the viewport. So I will need to move it a little bit backwards. So I will put minus 14 in the Z position. So it is looking the cubes from a slightly farther distance. And now this should look better. Yeah, it looks as the original demo. Now I want to create the animation of the rotation of the cubes. So for that I will select the cubes object and I will add a MotionKit component. And the first element that I will want to create is a parallel. So a parallel is a container object that will have many animations inside that will run at the same time. So inside this, I will just create a couple of animations. I will animate the first 2 cubes for rotation, and you will see later why. So I will add a new item in this parallel animation that will be a motion 3D block. And now I will select the first cube. I will choose from transform local Euler angles, and I will now set the value. So the initial value is going to be 0 and the final value is going to be 360 in the x-axis, and I want this to last for 10 seconds. So I will try this now, and now we can see that the cube is rotating. So it will rotate for 10 seconds and it will probably stop at the end. So now we need to address that. The way we do that is we go to the parallel object, and the first thing I want to do is I want to change the name for this motion block. So I will rename it to rotation par, meaning rotation parallel. And when I see the events options for this, and actually for every motion block, we have these 4 events. So I will use the onComplete event, and I will add a new function to invoke. So I will drag this same object, and I will look for the MotionKit component, and I will look for the play method that receives a string. So the string will be the name of the animation that we want to play. So we want to replay this rotation par animation at the end of itself. So I just need to pass in this name, so rotation par. And since the parallel object contains the rotation animation, it is kind of wrapping the animation, right? So you saw that I never set this duration to be 10, but it is actually taking it from its children animations. So for example, this motion 3D rotation lasts 10 seconds, and this one will last 10 seconds as well. So now I want to try it. I guess when the rotation ends, it will continue to rotate. So you can see that this will rotate continually. Okay, now I will do the second animation of the second cube. And the way I will do that is I will enter into the rotation parallel, as I just did, going back to the MotionKit component, click on Edit, and now I will need to add another parallel item, and I can copy and paste. This is one of the features of the MotionKit inspector tool, so I will copy the Motion 3D, and I will paste it right here. So it is exactly as the first one, but you will notice that it will be pointing to the first cube instead of the second. So we need to fix that now. I will drag in the second cube. Everything else should be maintained. So if I test it, I guess both cubes will start rotating at the same time. So now we can see this is working as we expected. Now I want the second cube to be slightly after or before the first one so that we can kind of create a progression visual effect. So the way I will do that is I will go to the second rotation animation, and I will just modify the angle. So for example, I want this to start rather than 0, I want it to start at 15 degrees. And this one I just can add 15 degrees. Let us see how this turns out. Yeah, exactly. This is what I wanted. You can see the slight or the very small difference between both of them. So if we do this along all the cubes in the row, it will look nice, I believe. But you can imagine that doing this one by one is going to be a little bit tedious. So there's a tool within the MotionKit where you are able to create these animations in a batch mode. So you can create certain rules and then you apply it, and then all of the animations will be created automatically for you. So that's what we are going to do next. Alright, so the first thing I will want to do is I'm going to edit again the rotation part. I will remove the second element because the first one I will use it. So I will copy it, so copy motion 3D, and I will create a new batch operation. So batch operations are just operations that happen on all the motions that are contained within a container, such as the parallel. So this parallel will have many children here. So any operation that I create here will be applied to each of the blocks of this list. So the first batch operation that I want to create is to copy a template block. So this will create a copy of the certain block that I define, and it will replicate it in all the parallel items. So for this, I will just create a copy template block, and here I will paste the Motion 3D that I created first. Actually, I want to rename this to rotation. So going back, I have this template block that has this rotation, that this is pointing to the first cube. Now I will go back to the rotation parallel. But for this to work, I will need all the parallel items to be ready, at least empty. So I will create a few additional blocks. So I will create 7 in total for the 7 cubes. And now if I run the batch operations, you see that it just created 7 blocks, the same as the one that is contained within this copy template block. Okay, so now we have a copy of the template block, 7 copies of it. So I will run the application and see what happens. So you can see that we have a problem here. It is just being applied only on the first cube. And the reason for that is that all the blocks are pointing to the same cube. So this is pointing to the first cube. If I go to the second animation, it is also pointing to the first cube. Third animation will do the same as well. So what we need to do is we need to create an additional batch operation, which is specifically designed to solve that problem. It is called a set setter object. So I will go inside and I will block the inspector in order to drag all the cubes in this list. So this will go one by one of the rotation motions, and it will be applying each of the cubes accordingly. If I go back to rotation power and I run the batch operations, they will run again, right? So the existing rotation will be erased, will be replaced by 1, and then the set setter operation will be applied. So it will run these 2 operations on each of the slots, but it will still give the results that we are looking for. Now if I test this, I guess I will see all the cubes rotating at the same time. There you go. Okay, so what we want to do now is we want to apply the effect where the next cube is rotated slightly more than the previous one, and so on. So the way we do that with batch operations is as it follows. You enter again to the rotation par, and you want to create a new batch operation. In this case, I will use one that is called set incremental values 3D, which you can guess by its name. It will just create an increment in the values of each of the motion blocks sequentially. So if I go to edit, I can set the base initial value, which will be the value that it will start with, and the initial value increment, which, as you remember, it was just 15 degrees on the x-axis. So the same for the final value. So the base final value, which means the first one of the first cube, will be 360, and the increment for the final value will be also 15. So it will basically start initial value 0, final value 360, then for the next block it will be initial value 15, and then final value 375, and so on. So this will do all the work for you. So if I go back and click run batch operations, this should be applying the increment to all of the blocks. So you can check them inside. You can see that the values are already modified. If I go back one and so on, I will see the increment is working as we designed it to be. So now if I test it, it should be working as expected. So yeah, this is perfect. You can see the next cube is rotated slightly more than the previous one. So this creates a very nice effect. Alright guys, so this was all for today's video. I hope you liked it and I will see you in the next one.